Susan, it's so great to finally be able to get together again.
Oh, it sure is. And I really appreciate you picking up the bill.
I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Get Upside app?
Yes, up to 25 cents a gallon. Cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Some months I make $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Get Upside app now.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents a gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code PHIL for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents a gallon on your next fill-up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code PHIL for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PHIL.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
This is John Silver, lead recruiter of the Dark Order, and you are listening to All Things Elite.
Welcome to the 125th episode of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. My name is Austin Sumwitz, and I am the host of this lovely show. Joining with me, as always, is my good buddy and friend, Floyd Johnson Jr. I know how you might be feeling a little bit considering your little bet that you just had changed, but how you doing, my man?
I am doing well. I won a lot today. I actually won quite a bit today. So, I mean, it wasn't a bad day. I hit like 4 of my 6 bets, but it could have been 5 for 6. But human error is what it came down to. And I will live with that. But I am doing great. I am exactly 7 days before I leave for the Jericho cruise. Out of Miami to the Bahamas, so y'all get to hear all about that on the show. Man, they are making you go through the ringer. Monday, I have to get a PCR test, and I have to have a past PCR test with me when I go to the doc, and then when I get to the doc, I have to have my vaccine. Or it has to say I've been fully vaccinated at 2 weeks before the 2 weeks before the thing. Then I have to then take a rapid test before I get on the boat that day.
Yeah, I commend you for still going on this because like I'm a big cruise guy and like I'm kind of just waiting until everything's fully blown over before I even consider going back on a cruise because like this. You got to go through so much vetting to be able to go because, I mean, like, those things can – I mean, like, we saw what happened at the beginning of the pandemic with cruise liners and how they just basically – it's a super spreader waiting to happen.
Well, the way they're doing this, I feel like I'm going to be in the safest place on the planet.
Yeah, they've vetted as much as they possibly can. Like they've made sure, like, it's the only way it could happen now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited. The reason I'm still going is this. Your last day to cancel was in June, which I thought about it, but I was like, we're going to get a Dynamite on the boat. We're going to get a 6-man tag team belts decided on the boat. I'm like, I'm getting all of this on the boat, and I've never been on a cruise. I'm super excited because as of June, that was still, as I understood it, the plan. So I didn't cancel. Then, slowly but surely, you find out, oh, Dynamite's not going to be on the boat. Okay. Not only is Dynamite not going to be on the boat, Dynamite is going to be in Orlando while you're on the boat. Then, all the AEW stars that were on the boat, like Cody, Kenny, the Bucks, everybody was on the boat last time. Yeah, none of them are going to be on the boat. Huh. Yeah. So who are we getting? Oh, you're getting Britt Baker, Orange Cassidy. Oh, good list. I'm never gonna. But I'm like, but who's the big name? Who's the A-lister? It's Jericho's boat, so of course he's gonna be there. But you're thinking you get a Omega, a Moxley, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, a big name. A huge name. Let me say, huge name. No, we don't get that. And so it's a cruise. I've never been on a cruise. I am prepared to enjoy myself. I bought the beverage package, so I get to drink as much as I want.
Perfect. Always get that.
So even if somehow on this floating hotel with nothing but wrestling matches going on and the great Will Ospreay in attendance, somehow I'm not going to get fun, and I figure out a way not to have fun. I can get just blackout drunk and forget that I was there. So,
my good friend, I will be the biggest advocate for cruises as possible. And despite the fact that like the megastars aren't going to be on the cruise, I will let you know, like as somebody who had their first kiss on a cruise lines fucking rock. So you're going to have a ton of fun. I promise you.
You had your first kiss on a cruise line?
It was like the definition of like a Disney Channel, like, oh my God, like you would have heard like the oohs in the background, like from the crowd, like filmed in front of a studio audience sound. Like, yeah, that was where my first kiss was. Like, it was honestly like, it didn't feel real. It felt like this was part of a TV show.
That is so awesome. That is so, yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, so cruise lines rock. So you're going to have a lot of fun, I promise you.
Yeah, my wife's, going on a wrestling cruise. So, I mean, I can't bitch. Life is good. I want to make sure it's clear that I'm not bitching. It's just what I signed up for
was what like the original one was and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's not going to quite be that. So, as much as I don't want to feel this way because I'm going to have a great time. It's going to be an amazing time. I kind of feel like, I'm not going to have the same time as the people that were on the boat the first two times, or the first time.
Sure, yeah. But regardless, the Jericho cruise will still be a lot of fun, so definitely send me pictures from that.
I've never met Chris Jericho, so this will be my first picture with Chris Jericho.
There you go.
I've gotten stuff signed for him virtually, but I've never actually met Chris Jericho, so I am really excited that that's going to happen finally, because as you may imagine from hearing on this show, my list of people I haven't met is not very long. So the fact that I get to meet Chris Jericho, hear Fozzy play live, I've never heard them play live, that's all going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So have fun on that. And we got a lot to talk about today with AEW Dynamite and AEW Rampage. And of course, there is no AEW Dynamite on Wednesday. It will be back on Saturday. So we're recording this on a Tuesday. So we're still previewing everything that's happening this weekend in AEW. But before we get into all of that, I want to make sure you guys are downloading this fine show on Google or Apple Podcasts. If you listen to us on Spotify or any other podcasting platform, please give us a share with your friends, family, coworkers, whoever you wish. You can leave a rating and a review, and if you're so inclined, you can also leave a donation through our podcast provider, Red Circle. But the easiest way for you guys to support us is on social media. On Twitter, we are at AT Elite Pod. At Social Suplex are the guys that make this show possible, and check out all their other shows on their network. I am at Austin Sumowitz, SZUMOWICZ, and Floyd is at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. And the big news of the week is the fact that we are getting Saturday Night Dynamite this week. So tomorrow or today, when you guys are listening to this, you will not have Dynamite on your normal time. It will be on Saturday. And so that means Rampage will be the kickoff of the week of AEW, if you don't count Dark. And then we go from Rampage to AEW Dynamite on Saturday. So be sure to be prepared for that.
So we also got announced a surprising announcement. I'm glad we actually recorded the show later today, that this week we are going to get a Rampage buy-in. Now,
yes,
we'll talk about the matches later, but I just thought this was really, 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 really petty of our man, TK. I love it. He responded to petty with petty. The WWE is on the SmackDown's on FS1 this Friday. They decided to extend their show 30 minutes as to compete with Rampage. Like their show, literally no reason to extend 30 minutes. They extended it 30 minutes as to compete with Rampage. So Tony TK, who has been very good about not trying to compete with SmackDown, his show comes on after SmackDown. His goal is that you watch SmackDown and then turn it on Rampage. That's always been the take. Watch WWE first, turn it on Rampage, and enjoy both shows. So he felt some type of way about WWE just saying, hey, we still kind of mess up your crap. And Tony's like, okay, well, I'm going to give my fans, my people at the show, live wrestling on YouTube as far as the Rampage buy-in. And then when we get to the matches earlier, you can tell this man was not playing. He didn't give anything away, but it's still pretty awesome. So do you feel he's justified in his pettiness? I love petty, so of course I feel he's justified. But I'm asking you, Mr. Austin, a person that works in TV, is he justified in the petty?
Well, considering that SmackDown is a show that takes place on Fox and they're actively trying to extend their show when they don't need to, like AEW is not actively competing with SmackDown. They fired the shot right then and there. So like with this, they didn't have to do this, and they did. So I mean, TK has not shied away from taking shots when need be, and like this one was a provoked shot, so it makes all the sense in the world. And look, if TK's backed into a corner or something like that, I wouldn't be surprised if he would do something like this, and he did. So we'll definitely talk about that match and preview it for when we talk about AEW Rampage and Saturday Night Dynamite. But we're going to get right into AEW Dynamite from last week on October 6th, which kicked off in Philadelphia at Temple University, and it was an 8-man tag match between the Super Elite, the AEW World Champion Kenny Omega, Adam Cole, baby, and the Young Bucks versus the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, Christian Cage, and Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus. That big face-off we got at the end of All Out. We finally got to see the match take place, which was teased all the way back at All Out, and it was great. The crowd was all the way over for Luchasaurus, which was honestly quite amazing because, again, Bryan Danielson was in this match, but Jurassic Express and specifically Luchasaurus was getting the most ovation out of this match. There was a lot of great offense in this. You get a multi-man match with the Elite, the Young Bucks, and all these guys together. You're going to get a ton of great stuff. I especially love, too, because with Bryan Danielson's theme, I love how the "you're going to get your fucking head kicked in" chant has been included in the theme. Because, I mean, the first time you heard it, you couldn't hear it because people were screaming so loud. But the fans have started chanting that chant for Bryan Danielson, which is great because I love that chant. But this was great. The baby faces ended up going over as Luchasaurus. When the ref comes back in, Actually, no. That's my apologies. There was a 4-way V-trigger that was hit. The babyfaces did not go over. Jungle Boy took the pin after a 4-way V-trigger, and that was the end of that match. It was a wild match. I especially just loved the love for Luchasaurus. So the fact that the crowd was so hyped for him was great. This was a wild, fun opener, and I really enjoyed it. So.
Yes, this match was amazing. I don't know how many times and how many different ways I can say the same thing, that AEW is the best at multi-man matches. It's just they somehow figure out a way to feature everyone. Everyone gets their spot. Everyone gets their shine. And, it goes a little car crashy. Even when they mess up, like they did on the Powerbomb, the Young Bucks, Kenny, and Adam Cole just immediately knew how to react and play to the crowd and say, screw you, we did it on purpose, basically. Then you got the four-way V-trigger, which I've seen GIFs comparing it to the Turtle Smash, where they all the Ninja Turtles take their shell and squash one guy in the middle. I've seen that compared. It's been fun. Adam Cole just he seems like he's been with AEW since day one. He doesn't seem odd. He's new, but he doesn't seem too new. He gets what they're trying to do. He fits right in. Bryan Danielson definitely fits right into what everybody's doing. He's not trying to outshine anyone. It's just great to see 8 people work together to put on an amazing match. And, of course, the Elite is undefeated because they're the Elite.
Yes, the Super Elite is undefeated. And I especially can say, as a man who tends to not like multi-man matches, AEW does the best with multi-man matches. So whenever AEW puts one together, and if it includes the Elite or any of these people in the ring, I will always be for it. But we then had an announcement from my boy CM Punk talking about when he moved to Philadelphia in 2003 and how he lived there and he ran a wrestling school. And he loved it because it gave him so much, and because of the money he made wrestling in Philly, he talked about being rich, but more so spiritually rich, and how he's glad that he's back in the wrestling community, back in Philadelphia. And he's like, because you guys were special to me, I wanted to give it back to you. And he was like, look, you can either get me wrestling for you guys, or I'll buy you all cheesesteaks. And asked Philly what it was, and he's like, nah, y'all can buy yourself one. I'll wrestle. But before this renewed love fest started, someone tried to end it before it even began. Daniel Garcia, if you got balls, you'll meet me on Rampage. And also, Punk was recently on the Complex show, which was focused on sneaker shopping, and he bought 2 pairs of Jordans, which totaled to about almost $1,700 total for shoes. And he gave the pair of Jordans he was wearing from that shoot to a young fan dressed up as Orange Cassidy. And I'm looking back at that kid, and I'm remembering that video, and I'm like, that kid just made well over $700 or $1,000 just right then and there. And I'm just but at the same time, I'm I wouldn't sell him either. So that is one lucky kid. So we got the announcement that Daniel Garcia and Punk would be wrestling on Rampage later that night. This was a fun promo. Punk is still in that period of just again, working with as many young guys as he can. He hasn't really had much of a full on blood feud in AEW yet, because he's just working with whoever he wants to work with. And I think it's still so early in the time of Punk being in AEW that I think when we get that first full on month-long feud with CM Punk, I think it's going to be massive. But I love seeing him just work with all these people that you would never expect him to work with. So this is great, though.
Yeah, this was great. And Punk is he's happy Punk right now. I mean, I know there's happy Corbin in the WWE, but he's happy CM Punk, which is awesome. I just think it's great that he seems to be just so ecstatic to be back, but he still has an edge to him. Punk is still in there. The angry Punk is still in there, and you know how he's doing it. He's literally going after anyone that has done anything to bring down his happiness, and then Daniel Garcia, you just made the list.
Yeah, you made the list of people that have pissed him off, so you're going to feel his wrath, and it's just as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, we then move on to Arn Anderson. It was a little package of Arn Anderson outside of Cody Rhodes' house with a fire pit, and Cody just comes out of his house and is like, "The hell are you doing, man?" And Arn asks for Cody to hand over his tie and his suit so he can burn it, because he's talking about how Cody has changed. He's gone Hollywood. And Cody's like, "Listen, I get what you're trying to say. We don't need to throw anything away." It's like, "I'm not throwing anything away." Arn slaps Cody in the face and just screams, "You threw us away." And he throws the tie into the fire, and they're just kind of quiet afterwards. So,
yeah,
Floyd, your boy, how'd this go for you?
So my friend kind of broke down, Arn's kind of position in this, and all I could say is, Cody kind of brought him on himself. Arn is, Cody is my favorite wrestler now. Arn Anderson's my favorite wrestler ever. So when Arn talks, Floyd listens. Like, Floyd listens all the way. So that's how it is. I love what they're doing. I love where this is going. They're going to have to break Cody down to build him back up. They're going to have to take all the flash, all the noise away. I mean, I can see this going a lot of different ways. I could see him taking the pyro away from his entrance.
Yeah, I can see it too.
I could see him making Brandy stay in the back. I could see him taking down the destruction. Hey, they're going to have to break Cody down and get him back to the Cody that signed with the company, build him back up. And, I can see this ending with him getting a TNT title shot, against whoever the TNT champion is, or at least another match with Malachi Black. I like where this is going. I feel like this is edgy. I feel like this is more, this is treating your fans with an intellectual, IQ that's okay, this is going to take a while to fully form, but AEW has earned patience. AEW has earned patience, so let it completely pay out. You might not like where it is this week. You might not like where it was next week. But give us a few weeks, and we're going to get you there eventually. And I just love it because there's a lot of storylines going on, a lot of people and big things, but this is kind of that mid-card storyline that's building slowly. The Dark Order did it, when you were doing the vignettes and all that kind of stuff, and it was building who the Dark Order was, and then everyone eventually loved it. Give it time. They're going to get somewhere. They have a plan. You can tell there's a plan. I just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, and again, I do like the bare bones of what we have right now with the story, because again, it allows Cody to kind of just reinvent himself a little bit, and Arn has been the star of the show with just completely tearing Cody to shreds. He has managed to just completely capture the hearts of wrestling fans once again, and it's just people want Cody's just to something new or different to happen with Cody, or just some people want him to go away entirely. So with Arn kind of breaking Cody down and then forcing Cody to adapt and change, while some of the ways it's been presented you might not like at this moment, when it all comes together, I think this is going to be huge, and it's going to do so much for Cody and so much for AEW. So it's going to be great seeing this unfold as it does. But
I don't really watch the show at all. Roads to the Top. That's why I have Tiffany do the preview. But absolutely. I would love to see. I don't know if they have behind the scenes of him trying to explain this thought process to Tony. This is what I want to do. Because this seems so Cody. Because it's so, even though it's kind of understated right now, you can tell it's going to be over the top before the end. Everything has been dramatic with the spray and Arn falling and Arn getting pissed at him for coming to look up. It just seems like every piece is in place. And you're while you're watching it, it's this is stupid. Believe me, they had me. I'm like, man, I don't understand where this is going. And now that I'm seeing the pieces start to fall in place, I'm like, oh, I think this has been planned way longer than I thought.
Yeah, no kidding. We then had the first TNT Championship defense of the new champion, the Spanish God, Sammy Guevara, facing off against the debuting Bobby Fish, formerly of the Undisputed Era. And again, not at all who I thought the first defense would be against. But, I mean, this is just a great first, like, we talk about how the first defense, like, we all know they're not going to lose the title normally, the first defense they have. And we talked about the issue that we had before with Britt Baker's first defense being against Nyla Rose. While it made sense on paper, it just didn't really capture much. And it just felt like, well, she's going to get her ass kicked. So, you know, there's not much like buying into this. But the fact that Sammy defended against Bobby Fish, like debuting Bobby Fish, was such a great way to start off his reign. And this was a great match too. I mean, Bobby, it's weird to see Bobby wrestle singles matches just because we're so used to what he used to do in NXT with the Undisputed Era. But I mean, this guy was doing great stuff in New Japan before NXT anyway. So hell, I mean, I just love the fact that we got this match at all and that Bobby Fish is All Elite. I'm so happy that he's on here. And again, never would have expected him to be here. But Sammy Guevara would hit the GTH to finish off the match, and good first defense. But then American Top Team and Dan Lambert and Scorpio Sky surround Sammy Guevara and just beat the living hell out of him. And Fuego tried to help, but he got beat up too as well. Then Chris Jericho and Jake Hager come to even the odds. Baby faces helped save their friend with the Inner Circle. Oh my God, the Inner Circle actually helped out like their teammates. So immediately Jericho goes after Junior Dos Santos. Dan Lambert and them all retreat, and Lambert is getting mega heat. Like this dude, like, I mean, we saw the Nuclear Heat t-shirt from Tessa. This is Nuclear Heat right here. You could barely hear Dan talking, saying how, hey, this is the one who's calling the shots. You've been a big man in this business a long time, but Rampage is coming to Miami and South Florida, and that's the home of American Top Team. And there's only one king of the streets in the 315, and that's Jorge Masvidal. So it's our town, our match, Men of the Year, and Junior Dos Santos with my bodyguard, Jorge Masvidal, at ringside against you and your team, Jericho. And Jericho was talking. His mic cut out at one point, and he just threw it to the ground. So he eventually got it to work and just said, we're going to beat the living shit out of you, Lambert. And that's really all he needed to say. But I just can't get over the heat that American Top Team has with Dan Lambert, and it's so great. And yeah, Sammy got a great defense against Bobby Fish. So, I mean, his TNT reign is already off to a very great start.
Absolutely. Bobby Fish is a solid to strong just worker. He is a veteran of the ring. This is exactly the kind of person that Sammy needed to draw a good match out of him. I love how he reversed some of Sammy's like special spots just to build up the intrigue. I think it was the Falcon Arrow off the top rope that he hit on him. That was sweet. He took the Spanish Fly off the ropes. It was just a really gritty type match, and it served its purpose. It reminded people that Bobby Fish, just knows how to wrestle. He knows how to wrestle really well. And I just like, man, this is a great one-off appearance for Bobby Fish here, and it did what it needed to do, establish Sammy as a strong champion as he's going forward and going into his next challenge. Then the match was over, and then we got the Dan Lambert, who is brilliant at professional wrestling. Wrestling is a lot about understanding your character, understanding your role. I don't think I can say anyone understands their role and their character with as little wrestling experience as he has than Dan Lambert. He is a great heel manager. Not a good heel manager, a great heel manager, and cutting the promos, yelling, trying to cut the music off. Jericho and Hager made me proud by coming out there to defend their boy, and now we're getting a 6-man match in Miami with Jorge Masvidal. I'm a big Jorge Masvidal fan as a fighter and as the character, because he just talks a lot of shit and then he fights. Like, I know doesn't have the best record or whatever, but I am at most a casual MMA fan. So I love MMA fighters that bring a little professional wrestling to the MMA, and Jorge Masvidal does that very well. And so having him as the enforcer in the match on an AEW show in prime time, I think that match is on a Friday night, right? Or is that on Saturday?
Yes.
That's on Friday night in Miami. That's going to be killer. Sammy Guevara, somebody that still, even though he's very popular with the AEW audience, needs some of that crossover appeal. This is a big spot for him. I think this match is gonna be awesome, and I think we're gonna get something we don't expect. Other than Junior Dos Santos making his AEW in-ring debut, which is freaking awesome, because I imagine if Dos Santos signed anywhere, I would assume it would be the other company. But he's with the hot company right now, which is awesome. I'm just really looking forward to what's coming there, and how it was set up is perfect. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page have this big spotlight on them that it has been brought by Dan Lambert. For if anyone questions why Dan Lambert's here, this is probably some of the biggest spotlight match Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page have been in since the Men of the Year. I mean, I know Ethan Page had his own thing with the casket match. I believe Scorpio Sky had a TNT title match. But them together with all these people, there's going to be the eyes of the United States watching.
No question whatsoever. We then had an in-ring announcement with Tony Schiavone and Aubrey Edwards, which was the debut of a brand new championship title. And they talked about how they made history starting Dynamite on TNT. They introduced the TNT Championship a year ago, and on January 5th, this show is moving to TBS, and they were going to have a brand new championship, which is the TBS Championship, and it will be in the women's division. And it's going to be decided the first champion in a women's tournament next year, and the TBS Championship will be defended when AEW Dynamite is on TBS. So not only does the men's division have a secondary title, but the women's division has a secondary title too, which honestly I think is a perfect fit, because I mean it helps allow more women's storylines to be on TV, and having another championship for the men's division didn't really make a ton of sense, because I think AEW is pretty fine with just the main title, the secondary title, the tag titles, and then you're good. And having another championship for the women's division gives more of the women more chances to shine. So I think this is great. And yeah, I don't really have any issues with this.
I love this belt. I am going to be an outsider, because I was very much AEW has enough belts. I was very much on that. But they have expanded so much, and they have so many shows. Dark Elevation, Dark, including Rampage and Dynamite. They have 4 different TV shows. You want us to turn on YouTube. You want us to watch the YouTube matches. You're gotta kind of give us a reason to care. So I love the expanding of the belts. I'm hoping a 6-man tag belt comes on next. Once the show, this match, this belt will be, the finals will be on the first episode on TBS in January. At that point, I would like the women's title to pretty much, this TNT title, to pretty much be exclusively defended on Dynamite. And I would like to see the TNT title exclusively defended on Rampage. I think that would make it special. And, as we open up more titles, they would be there. You can still, like the women's title, the other women's title can happen on either show. The other men's title can happen on either show. But the idea that specifically the TNT title and the TBS title be defended on their respective channels would add something to each show. It would make Rampage much watch. Like if you want to see the TNT title defended, you're going to have to watch TBS or other way around. I'm getting confused.
Yeah.
I'm getting confused. It's a lot of channels, a lot of names. The TBS title will be on Dynamite. The TNT title will be on Rampage because Rampage will be on TNT and Dynamite will be on TBS going forward after January. Really looking for it. Think it's a pretty belt. I'm not a pretty belt. This belt is a designed well guy. I don't know. I'm not an artist. You should see how I dress. I will tell you, I have no fashion sense. The belt looks fine to me. How do you feel about it?
I know. Well, see, I'm fine with it because, you're basically just taking the current TBS logo and putting it on the title the same way they did with the TNT Championship. I think the colors are cool, too. However, people have noticed this with the TBS logo, though, how the T and the B are pretty close. And because of it, it makes it look like it says Hose Championship, and it's in the women's division. So... it's a stretch. If you look at, it's a stretch. I feel like if you look at it like that, because again, you can pull up a picture of it and squint and be like, yeah, it kind of looks like that. But again, I don't know. I don't think it's nearly as. It's like the same thing when people were talking about the new United States Championship in WWE and how it looked like there was a penis on there, and I'm like, you're stretching a little bit with that,
dude. I had no idea that. I am right now years old when I found out that this is a thing. This is crazy to me. Dude. I watch wrestling, so I can't really tell anyone to get a life. But this feels like this is one of those opportunities where I can say, really need to get a life. You maybe spend too much time on the internet.
And also, too, if you're going to say this is a fail on AEW's part, it's the TBS logo. If you just Google TBS on Google Images, you'll see the logo. And if you're looking for the hose thing, you can find it yourself. It's not like AEW made the logo. They just put the network on the belt. So,
now I can't unsee it. I just pulled it up. Now I can't unsee it. So, HOS. But that's not even the, correct spelling of hose.
Yeah, so
again, it's a super stretch because it's I guess if you look at it real hard, you can see HOS, but can it be Haas?
But again, it's not like it's AEW's choice on the logo. They've done the same thing with the TNT Championship on TNT. They're doing it with TBS. It's TBS's logo. If you're angry that it looks like it says hose, tell Turner Broadcasting to change the logo.
Yeah, that is hilarious. You just kind of made my night. I'm staring at the hose belt. I'm just like I said, it's not even the correct spelling of hose. So it's I'm really? Does it, it's not, it's dumb. And who would do that on purpose? I don't get it. It's maybe, you know what they could do? Because they got till January. Maybe, because the TBS logo is kind of silver. Maybe turns the B to a silver B, and then or make it blue, like the back of the champion. Just make it a different color so it'll look less like that. But I don't think it. Me personally, I wouldn't do anything. The belt looks amazing. I'm if you want to make it that, then go for it. But yeah, people just have too much time on their hand.
Damn. Yeah, no question about it. But we'll move quickly on to that, though. Darby Allin had a singles match against Nick Comoroto, and it kind of just led to the moment that happened afterwards because Darby was able to get the quick win with the coffin drop onto Comoroto, and then QT Marshall quickly snuck into the ring and hit Sting with the diamond cutter, and then he just completely pops back up, no sells it, Scorpion Death Drop on QT. This would have been fine on AEW Elevation. On Dynamite, it kind of felt like it just didn't necessarily need to be here because because unless this is building to something with Darby and Sting in the factory, this didn't necessarily need to be here other than to get Sting and Darby on the show. But I will say Sting popping up, no selling the Diamond Cutter by QT was freaking cool. I can't deny that wasn't cool. But Darby gets the win. He's still awesome. Yeah, this was there.
So QT is jealous that somebody else got Scorpion Death dropped. So the little stinger inside that was watching WCW Nitro hoping that Sting would Scorpion Death drop him had to get his time. And you know what? There's never not a good time for a Scorpion Death drop. So I just love it. I think it was there to pop the crowd, keep Sting busy. And yeah, that was kind of awesome. I'm like, I don't have a problem with it because, these people worked their whole lives to get into wrestling, and getting dropped by Sting has to be one of those moments that you'll never forget.
No question. We then had a couple quick segments, the Dark Order being back on the same page as Evil Uno apologized for not making the best decisions. They all say, we're going to vote now on all decisions. Anna Jay was like, yay, we're all together, and made sure that everyone was on the same page. And then we had Dante Martin in the ring, as he said, was talking about how he'd been on a hot streak and how he wants to fight anyone in the AEW locker room. And the lights shut off, and a spotlight comes on, and Malachi Black is right behind Dante Martin, blows the mist at Dante, and then hits that roundhouse back heel kick. And he just goes, the House of Black accepts. Dante Martin versus Malachi Black. Thank you. May I have more? That's all I have to say.
Yes, this is going to be awesome. I love that they're moving Malachi Black forward. I don't know where it's ultimately going to go, but this is a great stop because Dante Martin pretty much has an amazing match with everybody. Malachi Black, I keep going back to Aleister. Malachi Black is a super badass, and he has been presented brilliantly, and it's not hokey right now or anything like that. He's just a guy that has a fucking cool entrance. And, of course, you're in Philadelphia. You doing the lights out. Everybody's like, Sabu! And it's just like, it's that Malachi Black moment. It was kind of awesome. Kind of an homage to the old ECW.
Yeah, and I mean, Dante Martin is getting such great responses. People love Malachi Black. And yes, the best thing they needed to do was to move Malachi away from Cody and the Nightmare family, because giving him something different helps kind of reestablish Malachi in AEW as opposed to just fucking with Cody and his friends. And it lets Cody just be off on his own some with Arn trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So it's nice to keep them separate is the best thing. We then had FTW champion Ricky Starks talking about how he's the FTW champ. They were really doing their best to just showcase all the ECW love in Philadelphia. So he said, listen, I have the same damn mindset as Taz, which is why I'm FTW champ, but former champion Brian Cage does not have that. And Brian didn't show up to work today, so it sucks. I really wanted to wrestle him tonight, so I challenged him to a Philly street fight. Cage then shows up and then proceeds to throw Ricky into the turnbuckles and splash onto him. And then Powerhouse Hobbs and Hooks get out there and save him. This would build to what would happen on Rampage, which would be the Philly street fight taking place on Rampage. And this wasn't the only thing Philly got for ECW representation. Taz literally came out and just said a massive thank you to Philly after the show was off the air. That was really cool too.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the place that made it. Taz has been a star all over the world. He has been a great wrestler, announcer. I actually used to listen to his sports show, which Taz did a sports show, a morning sports show where he just talked about football and stuff, very rarely about wrestling. And so I've followed him around, but Taz was never a bigger star ever than he was in Philadelphia in the ECW arena. Literally, it's figuratively, he was a god there. So there you go.
Absolutely. We then had the match for Hikaru Shida trying to get her 50th win in AEW as she faced off against the woman of 1,000 holds.
This was my favorite match of the night. I just want to yell
This was so good. Oh my God! I've touted so much how much I love Serena Deeb, and I still love Hikaru Shida. She really did her best to hold the women's division together during the pandemic, and being the longest reigning champion in AEW will do that for sure. This match was just focused on how Serena Deeb would just keep trying and trying and trying to put away Shida, and she didn't just want to be number 50. She didn't want to be just a little like asterisk in Hikaru Shida's 50th win in her illustrious career. She wanted to be known on her own accord. So she got way more desperate and way more like just panicked as the match kept going on. At one point, she raked the eyes of Shida and she hit the deep talks, but no good. It didn't work out. And then she just then proceeded to just keep trying and trying and trying, and eventually got the Serenity Lock and got Shida to tap out, and then proceeded to get that trophy that was presented about Shida's 50th win, smashed it over the head of Hikaru Shida, turning heel. And yes, oh my God, this worked so well. I thought Serena Deeb as a babyface is fine because people know who Serena is and they respect her and all that. But just Deeb as a heel, I just think is going to allow for so much more freedom. And I think she can be very vicious, just being how technically sound and great of a wrestler she is. I think she could be so good as a heel in a.
Hear that? Is that America cheering or a sausage patty sizzling to perfection? It's time to cheer for Egg McMuffin and fresh cracked eggs at McDonald's. It's time to wake up to the aroma of freshly baked biscuits and treat yourself to a real honest-to-goodness morning meal. Breakfast, it's on at McDonald's. Now enjoy a large iced coffee for just $2 and a breakfast sandwich to make a meal. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
AEW, and I know she's shown it outside of AEW how she can be a great heel. But I'm so for this. And to do it against Shida, too, going for her 50th win, too, just worked so well. Because people just was like, it'd be awesome if she got the 50th win. And Serena Deeb would be an awesome person to win it against. And then she just proceeds to fuck that all up. And then just be like, no, I'm not a statistic in your career. I'm Serena fucking Deeb.
So, yes, you said a lot of what I was going to say. But before this match, I was in the Social Suplex chat on Facebook, and I said, I need Serena Deeb to win this match. And somebody was like, why? I was like, dude, just announcing 50, then she just wins and gets to 50. It's boring. I need something more. Then the match played out, and it wasn't me calling it. In no way am I taking credit for calling it. I was just like, it just seemed too plain straightforward. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh, so when Jungle Boy went for his 50th to win, he just went in and won it. So I feel like that set up this moment because it literally lowered everyone's expectations. It made everyone think that Shida was just going to win this match and get to the 50. Then the shocker came. Serena Deeb turning heel, just getting really, really aggressive, slamming that knee into the mat like 5 times, unprotected, then wrenching back on the Serenity Lock. Not only did she beat Hikaru Shida, she tapped her out in the middle of the ring for her not to get the 50th win. Then she slams into the face to say, I am not a stepping stone in your career. I am not this glossy thing. I'm not this trophy that you get to hang up and say you got me. I am one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, former NWA champion. Respect me. And that's what she did. She beat the respect into Shida. I love this new Serena Deeb. I want her twisting and hurting everybody going forward. I'm sorry if I repeated what Austin said. He made a lot of amazing points, but they were like the points I was going to make too, so I just made them again. So, done.
No, yeah, 100%, yeah, exactly. But Darby Allin then got interviewed by Alex Marvez outside the arena and was talking about MJF challenging Darby Allin to face him on Dynamite next week. Darby was like, absolutely. A limousine then pulls up and then some masked people. I wonder who they are. They jump out of the limo and beat the shit out of Darby Allin. And I don't know why they really wore masks. It didn't necessarily have to happen. I mean, like, I don't know why they would wear it, like, it to hide their face, like, so people didn't know who it was. But I mean, like, it's not like they even took it off either. They just wore all, like, the entire Pinnacle just wore the masks.
Whoa. The Pinnacle? I saw 5 random guys beat up Darby. I mean, they should call the police. This was an assault. But I don't know what you're talking about with this Pinnacle thing.
You sure about that last guy? You sure that wasn't MJF?
All I know is I was out to dinner with the Pinnacle that evening. So
you're their alibi.
So they couldn't have beat up Darby. I was there with them. We were having steak.
I was there at the grassy knoll.
I was there with them. We were having steak, medium with ketchup on top. Yeah, it was a great time. FTR was there. I was talking to Uncle Dax. He gave me a fist bump. And Wardlow was just standing there quiet. He didn't say anything. It was a good time. So I have no idea what everybody's talking about. The Pinnacle was not even in the building at the time. They were with me. These 5 guys, these monsters, attacked Darby for no reason. Oh, I'm so sad.
Okay, I guess we'll just move on from that. Lio Rush was backstage talking about Dante Martin, how he's going up against Malachi Black, and like, look, you're a sleeping giant. If you take that challenge from Malachi Black, you might need some guidance, and I'll have my people call you, and we'll talk soon. So it's seeming almost as if Leo's positioning himself as a manager as opposed to a wrestler, at least at the start of this whole thing, which I think is fair. I mean, like, he's done a lot more like stuff outside of wrestling with his music career and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, he carries himself with that kind of like he just carries himself to someone who would seem like he could be a good manager. But yeah, I didn't expect him to kind of go by this sort of mindset. But Dante working with Leo, I think those two guys are just crazy high flyers. And I mean, like, that just seems like a match made for heaven. But at the same time, it's almost as if you're doing Top Flight again, but just with Lio Rush.
So I like Lio Rush in the player coach type of a role. It being called, like is it LBO, right?
I think so.
Yeah. It reminds me too much of Hardy Family Office. Especially,
yeah, it's kind of another thing, yes. Like that, yeah. But it also, and at the same time too, like you see, I feel like a lot of people are going to compare it to MVP too.
Yeah, and he's kind of manipulating Dante Martin. Lio Rush is amazing on the mic. One of my favorite periods of his career outside of just wrestling, because he's a phenomenal wrestler. I will never. His skills are just amazing. But outside of that was the time when he was doing Lashley. I truly think he took Lashley to another step forward in his career, and so I do think he has a great chance of elevating. Dante Martin, who's not amazing on the mic yet, having a mouthpiece in Lio Rush, who is really good on the mic, I think works. I'm going to wait before I say it's anything else to see how they differentiate it. But that initial reaction, initial gut came off as Hardy Family Office. But I'm going to let it play out before I say, oh, this is, because you want to give it time. The thing with AEW is sometimes they start something and then it expands and it's completely different than how it began. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to hold off on judgment on where we're going with Lio Rush.
All right. Well, we get to the main event, the Casino Ladder match to determine the future AEW World Championship title number 1 contender. Andrade El Idolo, Jon Moxley, the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer, Big Money Matt Hardy, Freshly Squeezed Orange Cassidy, Pac, and the Joker, which we can just say cowboy shit's back. It's Hangman Adam Page returning after being away. He comes back to a mega pop. And this match was filled with a lot of high spots. People are just going to remember it because Hangman came back. It was a great moment with him winning the match. He is finally on his way to getting that AEW championship match against Kenny Omega. We got it finally, like It all didn't make a lot of sense when he didn't win against when the Dark Order and Hangman lost against the Elite, and we were all like, well, what the hell? And like, oh, it was supposed to be at All Out. It was going to be perfect, and now we're most likely going to get it at Full Gear. It's his pay-per-view. It's named after his little joke that they had on being the Elite. This is it. This is what we needed, and now we can finally get Kenny versus Hangman, and it's going to be outstanding.
All is right in the world of Mr. J.R. Perez. He will probably be on the show next week, but this week I will talk in his hand. Finally, we are getting Kenny in the main, probably getting Kenny in the main event of a pay-per-view, Full Gear, his pay-per-view, Minnesota, Cowboy shit. Did you hear the pop when he came out? This is what people have been waiting for months. Anybody, and you can please go check out One Nation Radio, where you can hear Rich and James's victory lap, as they have been telling everybody not to worry about Hangman. Us on this show have been telling everybody not to worry about it because Hangman was back. We had our very hilarious moment with JR last week where he didn't know what the hell I was talking about, and we were talking about Hangman coming back. Hangman is back. He is the number one contender. He did some Cowboy shit. It is amazing. I am happy. I'm from Oklahoma. I've literally never wore a belt buckle in my life, but I kind of want to go get a belt buckle with a big ass horse on it for the Minnesota show.
If there was any person from AEW to have belt buckles that isn't just like the championship belt buckles that Pro Wrestling Tees sells, I would think Hangman would have a belt buckle sold on Shop AEW.
Absolutely. He definitely needs one, and it has to be a horse. And it has to be like the horse running logo that he has. Dude is just, like I said, he's so over. I felt like even though he's wrestled other places, he is the first homegrown AEW star, and it's his time. I think, like, I might be on my own, but I think, they got to pull the trigger at Full Gear.
No question. It's got to be, because, I mean, like, people wanted it to happen. It kind of got taken away, and then, like, now they're getting the chance again. If he doesn't win this time, people are, I think, actually get mad about the booking, because it just makes all the sense in the world for Hangman to win now. But that was AEW Dynamite, finished off and kicked off with a bang, and had a lot of great stuff in the middle, too. But we're going to move quickly over to AEW Rampage, as we started things off with CM Punk facing off against Daniel Garcia. And this was a very strong match, I think. This had a lot more technical related stuff in the match. Punk really trying to work away and out-wrestle Daniel Garcia. But eventually, while the referee was distracted, 2.0 start working on the leg of CM Punk, slamming it into the ring post. Punk is having a lot of trouble moving around, and they just proceed to just work on that knee as much as they possibly can. And because he was trying to basically stop him from doing the GTS, it didn't end up working. Punk did a lot of stuff working back out. I will say his dive from the top rope onto the outside almost felt like he dove through all three of them. Like, he kind of just went through them and they fell, because he kind of looked like he hit the ground pretty fast and pretty hard in that spot, but he seemingly was fine. Eventually, he hit a springboard clothesline, a pile driver, and then finished it with the Anaconda Vice, which I also like too, because didn't force him to use his knee, which was already injured in the match, and he ended up finishing it with the Anaconda Vice. Like, instead of like, oh, the knee was worked, but he still used his knee to win the match, he ended up actually working the Anaconda Vice back in to get the tap-out victory and still remaining undefeated in AEW. It's my boy. You know exactly what I'm saying. This was the best part of the show.
Yeah, I think he gave Daniel Garcia a lot. He's looked like a star in pretty much all his matches, but he's looked like more of a star. It was more of a platform for him. I do think, personally, CM Punk, if you want ratings, he is going to have challengers that you think he can lose to.
I think that's the thing, is like, Right, it's still kind of the honeymoon phase right now with CM Punk and AEW and CM Punk in wrestling, because now they're just like, face as many people as you possibly can. We just want you to really work. He wants to work with these young guys. He wants to be able to help shine a light on people that haven't had a light shined on before. It's still very early in CM Punk, and that's the thing I want to say too, is like, I think people are underestimating, I think, how long Punk will actually be in AEW, because I mean, like, we've got time, so I think right now he's just trying to get as many matches out of as many people as he wants. But that's what I keep saying, that first blood feud, that really takes some time and has a lot of energy to it and has a lot of background towards it. And I mean, hell, it's like, I don't even feel like comfortable extending the idea, because I know it's been thrown around too, but it's like, it's there. I don't know what their history is, but like, if his first blood feud was Colt Cabana, I mean, like, my God, the crowd would be insane for that. I don't know if the issues between them are still there or if they're mended and everything like that. But regardless of the fact, though, the moment Punk gets a new like an actual legitimate heated feud that lasts more than just a few weeks, I think is going to really help just get people even more invested in Punk being there, instead of it just being like, I love that I'm back in wrestling, and then he beats up he showcases a young guy but still gets a win. I think once that massive feud happens, a lot more people will be fully interested. But I fucking don't care. It's still CM Punk in wrestling, and it's amazing.
Yes, and I will say this. Punk and Colt Cabana, if they decided to do anything, would be professionals, because they're professional wrestlers. You know what I mean? They've been in wrestling way too long. They've worked with people that, if they don't like each other, if they don't like each other, they've worked with people they don't like before, you know?
May we remember Ryback.
Yes. So you go out there, you do business, you go home. So if they can tell a good story, they can put on a great show. That's great. Like I said, it's just, he's kind of in these job matches right now. You know, CM Punk, he's given a lot, and that's great. And he's being a team player, but it's like, he has to be the star. You know what I mean? He has to. You know, they're using him a lot for Rampage, to be the draw for Rampage. So, you know, I'm not saying, let's do CM Punk versus Kenny Omega, but, you know, you can step it up a notch.
Yeah, I think so too. And again, I will say, it's another instance where we have to be patient. So.
Oh, completely. This is just a knee-jerk reaction, because last Friday was literally the lowest rated Rampage ever. So CM Punk, it just seems like just having CM Punk on the show is not doing what it did. People want to see CM Punk in a match that matters. I'm not 100%. Saying for the title, but just a little bit more important than the people they have been presenting with him lately.
Yeah, and then Lio Rush then had another thing with Dante Martin and Matt Sydal as well, because Matt and Dante had been teaming a lot recently. And Matt was calling out Leo for not having true intentions, and Leo was like, no, what we have is real, and what I'm selling is real, but you're the only one that needs to prove their worth. How about I get you a match next week on Rampage with CM Punk? And Matt Sydal was like, well, I make moments, and I'll make a moment with CM Punk. Let's freaking do it if you can make that happen, which he will next week on Rampage. Punk versus Matt Sydal. It's as if we're back in WWE, and CM Punk is having a singles match with Evan Bourne.
Yes, is this ECW on Sci-Fi? I don't know.
It's almost like it is a little bit.
Yes, so yeah. I did like that CM Punk won with the Anaconda Vice. They are getting that over again. I know he's going to do it for a pay-per-view, but dude, I will tell you right now, I might pee myself the first time he does a Pepsi plunge.
Please. Please.
Yes, like just completely empty my bladder. Look at the person.
He did the Pepsi twist, so I mean, like, come on, man.
It's coming, but I know it's going to be a big moment. You know, he's not giving us everything now.
No.
So I completely understand, and I'm completely patient. Shit, if he doesn't pull it out till in Chicago next year in August, I'm fine. But I'm just saying, whenever he decides to pull it out, I will relieved of all the liquids in my body because I will be so excited. It's one of my favorite moves ever, and it's just
such a good move.
And it's such a good and unique move. Who else has tried to pull it off? No one. That is Punk's move.
Yep. Now, we then had the AEW World Tag Team Championships being defended by the Lucha Bros as they defended it against the Acclaimed. Now, this, I will say, because I've talked about it before, Max Caster's bars this time was much better than his, approved by AEW verse that was given to him, where he was kind of being, confused as he was reading it. I get the joke that he was telling, but, yeah, this was better. And this was really good, too. I mean, Lucha Bros are still absolutely crazy. It was a little quicker than I would have expected. The Acclaimed had some stuff included into it, but it was mostly just the Lucha Bros really giving it to the Acclaimed for a bit of the match. Lucha Bros got the stuff package pile driver for the finish. I mean, it made sense they weren't losing to the Acclaimed, who have a lot there, but they're trying to regain momentum after Max was off TV for a while. And yeah, Lucha Bros are still an incredible tag team champions. They're great. I love it. And yeah, this was fine, I felt like.
Yes, this was a great title defense. This was Max Caster right now he's this flow before the show, and his flow was amazing. And the match was really, really good. I really like Anthony Bowens. I like he's kind of the worker of the group, even though Max is a very capable wrestler. But that all was great. But I just have to get to that point where I just know the Lucha Bros can just have an amazing match with anybody, and they proved it once again. They can have an amazing match with anybody. Not a good match, an amazing match, and this was probably the best match I've seen. What is it? The Acclaimed. I had to do the A in the air to remember the name. Yeah, the Acclaimed have, and it was great, and another great successful title run for the Lucha Bros.
Yes, we then had Jade Cargill in action against Sky Blue. This was pretty much a squash. This was a quick, under a minute match. Jade Cargill getting the win. She got jaded, put down on Sky Blue, and yeah, it was very quick. She then was beating up Sky after the match before Thunder Rosa grabbed a steel chair and came and saved Sky Blue. They retreated. There's not much we can really say about this because it was just a super quick match. I mean, they're really they're still protecting Jade by not giving her a ton of time,
and they're building tension for the tournament that's coming up. And so this match served a purpose. I want to, for the stopwatch people out there, the people who are like, oh, this women's match only lasted this long, and this match only takes a lot of time. Did it tell the story that it was supposed to tell? Goldberg used to have 45-second, 1-minute matches, and you know what? He got over, nuclear over, telling these 3-minute stories, right? Because every story effectively every match told who Goldberg was. He was this dominant champion that dominated everything. In this match, this 2-minute match solidified Jay's character as a dominant force of nature. Undefeated. 16-0 or 17-0. She's not anyone to mess with. And Thunder Rosa came and messed with her. So now you have the first person that's really, really willing to bring the fight to Jade to get in her business. That 3-minute match, I forgot how long the stopwatch people said, told the correct story that it needed to tell in that little amount of time. Jade shouldn't be having a long match with Sky Blue because Jade is protected and is a bigger star than Sky Blue. This match lasted exactly how long it was supposed to.
Yeah, and that's really all we can say right now as we get into the main event of Rampage. FTW Championship on the line. Absolute Ricky Starks versus the Machine Brian Cage. Now, I will say, I kind of hope this is the end of this because Brian Cage got a lot of offense in this match. There was a lot of trash cans and weapons being used, a steel pipe being used, which, I mean, like, the pipe was driven into the throat of Brian Cage at one point. Brian Cage getting close to actually winning the match, and then Hook and Hobbs is sent by Taz, and then they just proceed to really mess up Brian Cage. And it seemed like Brian Cage was actually going to fall at one point because Ricky Starks was then hit with the discus lariat. He then just had Hobbs barely get a foot onto Brian Cage to stop the 3 count. And then he was climbing the turnbuckles, Hooks low blows him, and then Rochambeau, the FTW Championship, is retained by Absolute Ricky Starks. And it's another win for Ricky, continuing to really showcase himself. And again, it doesn't necessarily like hurt Brian Cage either, because all 3 men had to do shit in order to make sure Brian lost. So it makes sense as to why he won. But again, I kind of want Ricky to kind of move off and do his own thing. And I think Brian can do the same thing. Because again, like, this feud has had some supporters behind it. It's just not necessarily been me, because I'm like, people adamantly really like what Ricky's bringing, and they just don't really care about Brian Cage at this point. And I think there needs to be a situation where we kind of figure out what's wrong and what's not getting over before we can, like, keep this feud going. I think this is a fair enough conclusion to it, even though the heel won, I guess. Or heel, I guess.
I can say, yeah, I'm kind of tired of this feud. I am, because it's not a feud. Ricky wins every time. I mean, it's like a rivalry where one team loses like 100 games in a row. It's like not really a rivalry. It's only a rivalry to the team that loses every year. The team that wins.
Yeah, it's kind of like Michigan, Ohio State the last few years.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, this is a rivalry to Brian Cage, but to Ricky Starks, this is a weekly win. So either Brian Cage goes and finds friends, or he keeps losing, and it's just, no, I don't know. Brian Cage is one of those people that I honestly thought would be featured way heavier in AEW. He's been in the main events of matches. I'm saying he's been featured fine, but, I thought he would, be in that world title picture a lot more. He is very unique. He's one of one in this company. No one else looks like Brian Cage. You know what I mean? It's just like no one. I mean, a lot of people can do what he does, but no one has that combination of size, explosiveness, and speed like Brian Cage. So I hope they have a plan for him going forward. I don't think he's unhappy. I really don't. I think he's working with his friends, but I don't know that. I don't know that. This is complete speculation. I don't know Brian Cage. This is me guessing. But it just seems like he might be a little frustrated where his spot is. And I kind of understand him, because he's like fresh. On a national platform, really, Brian Cage is fresh. He is not the size, the speed combination, the explosiveness combination. Literally, no one else has that. So I hope in the future AEW can find a way to use him more. But this match was fine. Got a little hardcore for the people in Philly. The right person won, which was Ricky Starks. He won the right way as to protect Brian Cage. But, yeah, it was kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, and I think Brian has the ability to succeed because, I mean, when he came into AEW, there was a lot of hype around him, and he did a lot of great stuff when Team Taz was just Taz and Brian Cage. However, it's just, we just need something new to kind of allow us to have another look at Brian in a different feud, I think. Because, again, with Team Taz, all members of Team Taz have kind of had issues with how they kept losing for the longest time. And I think now that Ricky Starks is doing his thing with Team Taz, and he's kind of elevated Team Taz by being himself and being the FTW champion, and CM Punk has helped elevated other guys like Powerhouse Hobbs and even Hook on the side. And I think now it's just get Brian into something different, allow him to thrive in a separate feud, and I think there is a chance for this for everybody, for both parties to have successful stuff outside of this feud. But that was AEW Rampage. We have covered AEW in the week. However, we have one more thing to cover from AEW this week before we get to our previews for Rampage and Saturday Night Dynamite.
Yes, this week's Roads to the Top review with all things elite. The Heart of the Elite's own Tiffany. This show this week, they did 2 episodes. Tiffany recaps them all for all the people that might not have time to watch Road to the Top, such as myself. Very thorough review. I thank you, Tiffany, for providing this to us every week. Here is your 7 minutes with All Elite Tiffany.
Hey everybody, this is All Elite Tiffany representing Heart of the Elite, and I am here with your All Things Elite Roads to the Top recap and review. We were treated this past Wednesday to 2 episodes of Roads to the Top, 30 minutes each, immediately following AEW Dynamite, and it was loaded. Very, very much enjoyed these episodes, not only because I enjoyed the show and Cody and Brandy, of course, and the, family, the Rhodes family, and the friends of Cody and Brandy, but also because these 2 episodes heavily focused on Double or Nothing weekend, which Floyd and I, of course, were there. So not only were the episodes enjoyable just as a fan of the show, but also on a personal note, for us, because we were there and it was kind of like reliving that weekend, but it also added a lot to the weekend, things that you don't really know, are going on, and it kind of just puts things into perspective, and, it just gives you a whole new outlook on things, and I think that's what's so special about Roads to the Top is that behind the curtain look at pro wrestling and Cody and Brandy's lives, what they're going through, and it really does make this show super special. I will go ahead and go over some of the notes that I made about these episodes, one being the Nightmare Express. So Cody and Brandy are getting ready to go to Jacksonville for Double or Nothing weekend, and Brandy is, Cody says, how are we going to get there? And, Brandy assumes they're going to fly, and he says, no, I've got the Nightmare Express, which if you follow Cody on Twitter, you have seen that enormous bus with the Nightmare Family wrap featuring Pharaoh, and Cody says, it's a statement piece. We're going to arrive in style and take the Nightmare Express to Jacksonville. And Brandy seems a little bit on the fence about it, but she says, as long as I've got the bed in the back, we're good. I'm going to go ahead and go with it. So we see later in the episode that Cody, he tries so hard and does so much, but he forgot to get the bed installed in the bus. So Brandy is not too pleased when they initially get on the road to Jacksonville for Double or Nothing weekend. But thankfully, everything kind of blows over. And, Brandy said, basically, hey, as a chief brand officer of a company, I have to learn to let things go. So, once it blew over a little bit, Brandy was back out there with QT and Cody on the bus and making a pretty great gynecologist joke. I'm not going to repeat here, but you should definitely watch to hear it because it was hilarious. And I am always here for Brandy and her very blunt way of putting things and the jokes she makes. It's great. Brandy is just absolutely a gem. So yes, so they take the Nightmare Express to Jacksonville. And, like I said, a little bit of a rough start to that trip, but it all ended up seeming to work out, thankfully. We do get to see some footage of the Nightmare Factory. QT Marshall, Preston Vance, and Ricky Starks are shown as coaches and trainers at the Nightmare Factory, alongside Cody. So it's pretty cool to get to see footage of the Nightmare Factory, and we do get to see, I believe, next week, or this coming Saturday at this point, we're going to get to see more footage of the Nightmare Factory, which I think is pretty cool, which is Cody and QT's wrestling school. So that's a really, really cool inside look that I look forward to on Saturday, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so we kind of get a little bit of a behind the scenes look at the school. And then later in the episode, we have QT, Preston Vance, and Ricky Starks coming over to help Cody assemble some baby furniture, the swing, stroller, and the car seat, which gives them the most trouble. It's pretty hilarious watching these four guys just fighting with a car seat in the back of Cody's truck. So definitely worth checking out and seeing what ensues there. You get to see also a really nice moment between Cody's sister Teal and Cody coming over to hang out with her. It's become pretty known on the show that Teal and Brandy are not super close. So Cody says, with that being a factor and the fact that he's just so busy, they don't get too much time to hang out. So sometimes he just has to pop over. So he does and get some nice sisterly advice about raising a daughter, because Teal has a daughter herself and a son. And but yeah, about being a new father to a daughter. And it was just a really special moment there. We end the first episode with the weigh-in segment from the Dynamite before Double or Nothing, which completely bombed. The scale wouldn't work. The next episode rolls into the aftermath of that, and I just felt really bad for Cody because the whole thing just kind of bombed. And he's so concerned about Anthony Ogogo looking good and the fans wanting to watch this match, and you could see it just really weighs heavily on him when something like this doesn't go as planned. We get to see a really great moment between Eric Bischoff and Cody. A great chat talking about Dusty, very emotional, and I really love stuff like that. It's special to get to see Cody talk with people who have been in his life and in his family's life for so long and just, have those heart-to-hearts. Brandy has backstage where she is talking to higher ups in AEW about her time off, and that she's really worried about her spot in the company, not wanting to take a lot of time off because she doesn't want to be forgotten about. This leads to a moment between Cody and Dustin, probably one of my favorite moments of both episodes, where she wants to give Dustin a personal goodbye because he's one of the members of the Rhodes family who accepted her right away, and they are very close. And it was just a really, really wonderful moment between Brandy and Dustin. Dustin was very supportive of Brandy, and it was really heartfelt and touched me. And I absolutely loved that between them. And I'm so glad that Brandy has that ally in Dustin in the Rhodes family. The ending of the episode, we kind of get into before the match with Ogogo. Cody's back is in really bad shape. He says he's been dealing with back pain since 2011. He sees Doc Sampson. He has 4 herniated discs in his back. And through all of this, his main concern is that Anthony Ogogo looks good in the match, which again, just I can't say enough the kind of person Cody Rhodes is. He is in pain, a lot of pain, experiencing numbness, and his main thing is I need to make sure this match goes well so Anthony looks good at Double or Nothing. So the match goes off without a hitch, thankfully. It's a great match. Anthony looks fantastic in the match. Cody wins, but Anthony absolutely looks stellar in the match. Again, Cody's main concern is Ogogo. And Brandy is concerned following the match just how Cody is going to do all of this, that he's spreading himself so thin. So that's kind of where we end this episode. It looks like next week, or on the next episode, which is going to be Saturday, guys, directly following AEW Dynamite special day, Saturday Night Dynamite, followed by Roads to the Top. Don't miss it. We are going to have the episode, it looks like, where Brandy goes into labor, and we have Liberty Iris entering the world. And I really look forward to seeing that and what else they have in store for us. So don't miss it. Great shows. You can watch them on demand if you have cable or on the TNT app. Roads to the Top, again, coming up this Saturday with a brand new episode following a special AEW Dynamite on Saturday night. Don't miss it.
All right. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for that Roads to the Top review. Remember, excuse me, if you want to find Tiffany on social media, you can find her at All Elite Tiffany on Twitter. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Well, with that, we can get to our preview for AEW Rampage and Saturday Night Dynamite. Now, the buy-ins for Rampage were announced, and my goodness, we have 2 matches that were announced. Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki, and Bobby Fish versus Lee Moriarty, I think is how you pronounce it. Moriarty.
You like the Sherlock Holmes villain.
Oh, Moriarty, yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I had an ex that would watch that show constantly.
Yes, it's a great show. That's why.
It is a good show, yeah. But those are the buy-in matches, first off. Wow.
So, Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki. That, you know what it reminds me of? It makes me think of a WrestleMania weekend main event match. Like, a WrestleMania weekend show. Like, you're going in for WrestleCon, and they got the WrestleCon Super Show, and they need a main event that's going to draw everyone to the office and to the show. Oh, we're just going to have Bryan Danielson versus Minoru Suzuki dream match. Yeah, you get that on YouTube on Friday night for free.
Yeah, so enjoy, because holy shit, that match is going to be insane. And seeing Bobby Fish continue to wrestle in AEW, I'm all for it, because I think he can do a lot in AEW as well. But moving into the actual matches on television, CM Punk versus Matt Sydal on Rampage. Ruby Soho will be in action as she faces off against Allie the Bunny. And then we have Sammy Guevara, Jake Hager, and Chris Jericho of the Inner Circle against Men of the Year and Junior Dos Santos in his first match in AEW with Dan Lambert and Jorge Masvidal on ringside. And then on Saturday Night Dynamite, we are getting Dante Martin versus Malachi Black, as we saw take place on Dynamite. And Bryan Danielson versus Bobby Fish, and Lucha Bros versus a masked tag team only known to Andrade for the AAA Tag Team Championships, and a World Title Eliminator Tournament will be starting off, and will finish off at Full Gear, where we'll have another new number 1 contender crowned at Full Gear.
Yes, this is a pretty solid lineup. I don't think it's amazing. I do think this is more of a lineup for good casual fans, because people that know the name Jorge Masvidal and Junior Dos Santos are going to be tuning in. I love that Ruby Soho and the Bunny are going to be on there, because they're gonna have a really good match, I believe. Bryan Danielson versus Bobby Fish, that's just going to be a classic wrestling match. And the Lucha Bros versus a mystery tag team. God, very rarely does AEW not deliver on the mystery tag teams. So I'm looking forward to who that mystery tag team, and as this story goes forward with Andrade, look forward to that. And the World Title Eliminator Tournament, who's going to be in it? Is this how they're going to get Daniel Bryan into the title picture, or Bryan Danielson? Wow, I'm so WWE-fied sometimes.
I guess so, man.
Yeah. I still use the wrong names. I've been saying his right name all show. Busted out the old name.
It's okay. Hey. It's like with JR. The one thing that they mess up, that's what fans are gonna just latch on to, because
So no, and it's like, yeah, I'm significantly younger than JR, and I make the mistakes too, because you just remember people as certain names. It's difficult. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Eliminator, because I love tournaments. Tournaments are my jam. So I love that a tournament's coming. And more than likely it's a Wednesday Wednesday morning when we're recording this show. So they're going to probably announce at least 2 more matches for Dynamite. I am looking forward to what those are. I think it's going to be a big show. And Tony Khan has got the full court press on basically support AEW, beat the shit out of SmackDown this week.
Yeah, and if that legitimately happens too, like, the smack talk. Oh.
Yes. Yeah, and it's like it was kind of cool. You'd very rarely get a call to arms. And that's what it was. It was like, let's beat SmackDown. And it's just like, people are like, well, I don't like that. He brings up WWE. I'm like, WWE's the big boy in the block. To reference college football, reference college football, you know what? You need to be, if you want to win a national title, it goes through Alabama. It reference NFL football, every team in the NFL drafted so they could beat Kansas City. You know, it's just when you're the big boy on the block, people gonna say your name. AEW is not the big boy. The big boy is WWE. They are the bully on the block. They are the man on the block, and AEW is trying to knock them off that block. You know,
and it'd be stupid for them not to take this bait too, because if they lose, you went up against SmackDown on Fox. What did you think was going to happen? If you win, you beat SmackDown on Fox.
And if you lose, they had a 30-year advantage on you. Know what I'm saying?
Yes, exactly.
It's like a no lose situation. I know Tony's not going in looking to lose, and if you are at home on a Friday night, whether you're young or old, please take your time and your seconds. I know Nielsen box and all that stuff, but I'm telling you, there's other ways to figure out who's watching the show. Make sure your TV is tuned in to Rampage and you're enjoying the show. And I will never tell you not to watch WWE, because that's just silly, because WWE's been around for a long time. For some people, it's a part of the schedule. All I've ever said, watch AEW first, then watch WWE. Watch WWE on DVR Saturday morning. You need something to do Saturday morning before football starts, or before you got to go to the zoo, or some birthday party you don't want to go to. Boom, SmackDown. There you go.
Exactly. There you go. But that, I think, is going to wrap it up on All Things Elite this week. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to the show. We always do appreciate it. Remember, if you listen to us on Google or Apple Podcasts, you can download this fine show. And if you listen to us on Spotify or any other podcasting platform, you can share us with your friends, family, coworkers, whoever you wish. That means the world to us. You can leave a rating and a review. You can leave a donation through Red Circle. But on Twitter, we are at ATElitePod. At Social Suplex are the guys that make this show possible. Please be sure to check out all their other shows on their network. I am at Austin Sumowitz, SZUMOWICZ. And Floyd is at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. And I'm just going to send it to my man Floyd to take us home on this episode of All Things Elite.
I am just going to... I like to thank everybody that takes a moment to download the show, listen to a second, whatever. Make sure you're supporting all the different shows on the Social Suplex. But I am only going to leave you with 2 words this week, and it's very important 2 words. Be nice. And other than that, whether it's home, work, and school, always do your best to be elite. All right, there you go.
Cool.
From earaches to strep tests, there's MinuteClinic at CVS. See a provider, fill a prescription, and grab essentials. Or see us online with telehealth options. That's healthier made easier. Visit MinuteClinic at CVS today. Services vary by location. See MinuteClinic.com for details.